Okay, that first recording was a total bust. We're trying again, and on the webcam as opposed to my point and shoot camera, I did not remember to charge my battery, and it kind of started to die partway through the recording, so I thought I would start again. And yeah, today is Sunday, the 20th of May. It has been a little while since my last video, and that is not for lack of videos, but the fact that I was having an issue getting what do you call it, the voiceover to work properly with the video footage that I shot. And I'm going to show you guys what I'm working on today, so hold on a second while I tilt you guys a little bit. This is my work desk right now. If you can see, I have a bunch of little doll legs and the torsos and the arms all drawn out and stuff. I still have a few arms to draw, so I'm going to do that while I'm talking to you guys and just kind of have a little chit chat with you. So sorry if I'm not looking directly at you. I'm just trying to get all this stuff done while I have daylight because I'm trying to get at least 10 dolls done before next weekend. 1 second. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, I should have enough fabric for these, and I'm starting with like what I guess would be the tan skin dolls right now, because I feel like we don't ever see enough of them. When you go to the straw market downtown, all of them are like light skin kind of thing, and this is still fairly light skin, but I couldn't find very nice like materials in like a darker brown that I really liked that were still like affordable and kind of fit with the aesthetic I was going for. So yeah, there's that. So while I'm doing this, I guess I can tell you guys how I got into sewing in the first place. It was actually all my mommy's fault. When I was little, she had this summer camp at our house, which I absolutely did not like because I'm the type of person, I like my personal space, I like my privacy, and I'm very much a homebody. So having all of these different kids from my school, some of which I didn't like, showing up to my house to be there all summer, when summertime was my time to escape from these people, was a little bit disheartening. So yeah, that happened, and I think my favorite part of the whole thing was the fact that we used to have like an arts and crafts kind of time where she used to have like different drawing projects or painting projects or something like that, and we would just go to town, and it was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed myself when it came to that part of the summer camp. And yeah, I wish we had more of that when I was growing up. But my parents, my mommy and daddy, always used to encourage me to be creative and make things in order to keep me, in order to keep me out of trouble. And of course, I kind of ran with it. At sometimes I used to go a little bit overboard. I was a bit of a bratty kid when it came to my art supplies and stuff. And I remember one of my cousins telling me that I didn't want to be friends with her because she couldn't sew. And yeah, so mommy had all of these little kids over to our house, and we were doing sewing projects and stuff like that. And one of the most memorable ones I think I had was when we had to do like these little pillows, and it was like a basic like 8-inch wide by maybe 5 inches tall kind of pillow, really small pillow. And what basically ended up happening was she had us make the pillows and hand stitch them together, and she would do fancy embroidery stitches on her machine, which was like really basic kind of decorative stitches on the old Singer sewing machines and stuff like that. So she'd do that on the edges, and then she just let us have at it and decorate it with these fabric paints. Now, I had this really ugly maroon fabric, and I decorated the ever-living snot out of this, and yeah, I still have that pillow. I still have that pillow, and I think I made that thing when I was like 7 or something like that. So I'm 31 this year. I'm turning 31 in July, so that is a heck of a long time. That's like what, 24 years almost? Yeah, almost that long. So yeah, we made those pillows and everything, and it just kind of did something to me where it just made me want to sew more stuff. And she used to let me make little rag dolls and stuff like that. She used to sew us clothes sometimes, so the leftover fabric she would give to me to sew with. And some of the stuff I made was pretty terrible because young kid, little to no sewing experience, trying to learn how to do very complicated things. And yeah, it was just little simple sewing projects. And unfortunately, I was the kid who would raid someone else's closet for pretty fabrics for clothes for my dolls. And yeah, I was a bit of a brat. So as I got older, I took home economics class, and I was kind of really hoping that we would learn a whole lot more in that class. We learned a lot about cooking, but Mummy had already taught me and my sister to cook already, so a lot of the stuff they were teaching us I already knew. And when it came to like sewing and stuff like that, we didn't really go all that much into sewing, and Mummy had already taught me the basics. So when it came time to choose an elective, and the way schools here in the Bahamas are set up is that from up to I think about ninth grade, you have a set amount of classes, and you get to see all of the different courses you can take, and then you pick an elective like at at the start of grade 10, so you can choose between some of the sciences and some of the liberal arts kind of thing. So I think it was you could choose, I think it was geography or Spanish, or you could have picked economics and something else, or yeah, like they would give you certain classes that were optional classes, and then you could pick which ones you wanted, and depending on how many students went into the class, that's the class you got to have. We didn't have an art class, which really disappointed me because not enough students actually joined in. The minimum is 4 students, and people kept dropping out because they heard there were only like 3 students, and that kind of frustrated me. And I didn't want to take home economics, so I took business economics, which is a whole different thing for another day. So yeah, I've got all my pattern pieces drawn out. So, and I'm going to move to the machine, but I don't want to sew while I'm talking to you guys because it's been a while and I want you to be able to hear me. And yeah. So yeah, that was a thing that was going on around then. So I wasn't able to sew a whole lot because, I was doing schooling and all of that stuff, but during the summer was when I used to try and be a little bit more creative. I used to draw a lot. I used to still do quick crafting projects and things like that. But I was always interested in doll making and clothes making for my dolls and, making clothes in general. And as I got older, my mom had a sewing machine and she would let me use it on occasion. And then up to a point, I think her sewing machine just became too old and it was getting really expensive to keep carrying it into the shop and repair it. So I kind of put down sewing for a really long time, I think maybe 3 or 4 years or something like that. And I remember, I think it was for either my 14th or my 15th birthday, my parents asked me what I wanted for my birthday, and I said I wanted a sewing machine. And keeping in mind that sewing machines back then used to be like $500-600 here in Nassau, that was hell of expensive. And I was a very fickle child, as I mentioned, I think earlier in the video, where I used to pick up hobbies. Like I learned how to knit, I learned how to crochet, I learned how to do really basic embroidery. I learned how to do like dress smocking, I learned how to paint, I learned how to draw. Um, I was trying to do puppet making at one point, but there weren't enough resources in books I could find locally to be able to continue onward with that. I was really into stamp making and wood carving and all of that stuff, and I always had like this moment of a burst of energy and wanting to absorb all the information I could, but then due to finances, I wasn't able to continue on with the hobby, and so I got frustrated and I quit. And my mom, of course, knowing me and my personality up to that point, basically told me, okay, I'll make you a deal. If I get you the sewing machine, you must use it. I am not spending this much money on you if you're just going to quit this hobby and decide that you're not going to be doing this anymore. Like, I'm not going to spend hundreds of dollars on something that you're never going to use on a regular basis, and that I wouldn't have that money be such a waste. And yeah, what I started to, and that I wouldn't have that money be such a waste. And yeah, what I started doing then, I started making some of my own clothes to go to church. And it was really basic, really simple stuff. Like I was better with like really simple dresses and very simple skirts and things like that. And what I would do, since I was so unsure about my skill as a seamstress, I would just sew something and I would throw it in the wash on Saturday. And if it made it through the wash on Saturday, I would iron it and wear it to church on Sunday. Because I like a couple of times I had like things unravel at the seams and I had to go back and fix it, and it was I really rather have my wardrobe malfunctions happen in the wash than when I was out in the middle of praise and worship, you know, dancing, clapping, singing, and then I have a seam rip somewhere. So that went on for some time, and I think the first blouse was the first trip I'd ever gone on without like the rest of my members there. A bunch of my friends and I, we had saved up, we had booked a hotel, and we had bought our tickets for MegaCon, and we all went, and I was making, if I'd ever gone on without like the rest of my members there. A bunch of my friends and I, we had saved up, we had booked a hotel, and we had bought our tickets for MegaCon, and we all went, and I was making my first full-on Lolita outfit. It was like poofy skirt, petticoat, and a really lacy, ruffly blouse. And the blouse in and of itself was a pretty big undertaking for me. Up until that point, I'd only ever made dresses and skirts. I had never in my life made something as complex as a blouse before. And it was a really frustrating experience because I wanted pin tucks, and I wanted lace, and I wanted a Peter Pan collar, and I wanted poofy sleeves, and I wanted buttons down the front that were shaped just so. And I had to take that shirt apart like 15 times. Like I sewed one of the front panels on upside down, I sewed it on the wrong side, I sewed things right side in. All it looked so proud of that blasted blouse. Pictures of when I wore it on the trip. Proud of that blasted blouse. Pictures of when I wore it on the trip. I really wish I took more. Proud of that blasted blouse. Pictures of when I wore it on the trip. I really wish I took more pictures, but I don't like. I wore it on the trip. I really wish I took more pictures, but I don't like taking pictures of myself. So yeah, I did that, and then as time went on, I just got even more and more into sewing clothes for myself, and I got to the point where people would just automatically assume that what I was wearing was something I made. And I think the only thing that I am not that well versed at is probably jackets, which I'm working on, and pants. I am very, very, very new at making pants. Like I get all the seams mixed up and everything, and it's still kind of a bit of a task for me. So that's something I need to practice as time goes on. And yeah, what recently got me more active into sewing was the fact that I don't want it to be the only thing I'm doing. And for the longest, I kept picturing myself making to be the only thing I'm doing. And for the longest, I kept picturing myself making a living and paying my bills with like things I've made. Or I thought up, and even though that's okay, to want to be like an employee at work and not have to stress about like business logistics and having to find customers and making sales, even though that's okay, to want to be like an employee at work and not have to stress about like business logistics and having to find customers and making sales and all of that stuff. For some reason, like that is something I really want to do. I want to be able to make things, and I want to be able to earn money by using my hands to make things and sell them and have people appreciate them. And my mother-in-law, she actually approached me a couple of times where she wanted me to make things and she would sell them in her shop. And a recording of one of Les Brown's, one of his speaking engagements where he was basically asking, a recording of one of Les Brown's, one of his speaking engagements where he was basically asking, why haven't you pursued a dream that you've had for years? Like, what's holding you back? What's stopping you? And I didn't really have a good answer. And when I thought about it, the more I thought about it, the more I realized it was just plain laziness and a fear of failing again. Because I've had businesses before. I know in high school I used to do macrame bracelets for like all of my classmates, and I used to keep up with orders and everything. And yeah, it was really good. It was really lucrative. I think I made $40 making macrame bracelets for my classmates in about a week. And that was more than I'd ever made at any point in time because I wasn't working then. When I started working, I think another time I had gone into business basically baking pastries. It was cinnamon rolls, coconut rolls, and cheese danishes. And I was making good money off of it. Like right after high school, I basically used to bake and catch the bus to go hang out at my friend's shop across town on Prince Charles, which is all the way out east. And I used to live all the way out Carmichael. So I'd catch a 16 bus from my house, and I'd be selling pastries on the bus to the bus drivers, to the passengers and stuff like that who hadn't had breakfast. And I'd get downtown and I'd sell to people downtown who would see me waiting on the bus. And I would sell stuff on the 15 bus to head all the way out to my friend's shop out east. And by the time I got to my friend's shop, there'd be like 10 or 15 pieces left, and then those would sell, and I would have nothing left for the rest of the day. And I was doing that for at least a year. And with the money I made from doing that, I was able to pay for driving lessons. I was able to pay for my very first driver's license and my learner's permit. I was able to pay for that trip to MegaCon that I'd gone to for the first time. I was able to get my passport renewed and have spending money for the second time I went to MegaCon. That was amazing. And like I bought all my baking supplies and stuff like that when I was doing the baking, and I know I have the capacity to run a business. I, for some reason, have a really difficult time starting up a business of my own and being consistent with it, which is something that really upsets me sometimes because I know I have the ability and I'm not actually executing it. So this year I'm trying to be a little bit more serious about, using my creative gifts to earn money as opposed to just being a hobby, because I feel like that's what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. I feel like that's what I'm supposed to be accomplishing in life. And I don't want it to be one of those situations where I have all of this talent and I waste it. So yeah, all of this kind of stemmed from, wanting to make pretty things, which is really interesting. So yeah, this is going to be a very interesting year. I know it's like almost a quarter of the way over, and I have been doing things to kind of move towards things like that in that direction. I've been reading a lot, I've been watching a lot of tutorials, I've been practicing a lot of things, and I've also been working on that book I was telling you guys about, I think, in one of my art chat vlogs a little while ago. And I've gotten to the point where I'm starting to flesh out like the world that the characters are going to be in, which I always found was a problem with my stories. I would start writing them and I'd be very interested in the characters themselves and what's happening to the characters, but I never really fleshed out the world itself that they lived in, which doesn't really make much sense because the characters live in this world and they interact with people in this world, and the way the world runs and the way it works and the way it functions influences the way that the characters act. So it just made me think a lot more about that when I'm developing this story, which might be a 3-part series. I'm not 100% sure yet, or it might just be 2 books. So I'm working on that, and I found the easiest and best way for me to develop the story and the world is I'm not writing the story flat out. I'm asking myself lots of questions about the world and the character, and why would this happen, and how come this happens, or what is it that makes this thing special? What is it that makes all of this work? What is it that makes this world so special and makes people want to be here? Why would anyone give a crap about being part of this world rather than the world they came from? And that's really helped open my mind to a whole lot more possibilities. And even if I don't use them all for this story, I might use them for stories in the future because it might meld with that world as well. So I'm really excited about all of that, and this video is really, really long, and I'm really sorry about that. But yeah, I've started doing all of that stuff, and I've also gotten into doll collecting. I have a couple of dolls that are supposed to be coming in a little bit later this month, I think. One's stuck in New York, and the other two are coming from Miami, I think. No, Louisiana. Two are coming from Louisiana, and one is coming from Germany, and I'm just waiting for those to come in. And hopefully, if all goes well, I'll do a box opening video, and I hope you enjoy that. So yeah, this video has been a little bit long-winded, as I've noticed a lot of my videos are becoming. But I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much to my subscribers for liking my videos and commenting and sharing and everything like that. And for all the people who just kind of lurk in the background, thanks so much for joining me. Even though you don't say much of anything, that's okay. I do the same thing sometimes with some of my favorite YouTubers, especially when I'm really awestruck about some of the work they do, or I'm too shy to talk to them because they're just too cool for me or something. So thank you guys as well. If you're new here, make sure to check out some of my other playlists. I have the art chat vlogs that I'm trying to do a little bit more for. I do have my lock journey videos and stuff like that. I have a video of one of my retightening sessions that I need to upload, but like I said, I'm having a little bit of an issue when it comes to the voiceover aspect of it. So if anyone has any good ideas of how you can record the voiceover separately and then add it to a clip or something like that, if you have any tutorials or anything that you watch, please link them to me in the comments below. I would love to see them. And yeah, this video has been really fun to record, and I thought it would give you guys an idea of how I even got into sewing in the first place. And yeah, let me know your stories in like the comment section below of how you got into whatever hobby, craft, or anything like that down there. And yeah, I will see you guys in a little bit, and thanks so much for watching. Bye.